Okay, we're supposed to be talking. Yes.
I was just thinking about like differentiating, 'cause in pre-K we have, different centers. And I'm thinking about learning environment and how I have kids that are so into science. So making sure that there's an environment that they're comfortable in working in for that. Or like a kid that's really into manipulatives and making patterns and all of that there is an environment that they can access that information. And that's a way that we can differentiate through centers too.
Yes,
right.
Well, we have centers, and you guys are going to talk about that as soon as I finish, right? Okay, but that's a good example. That's an excellent example, and that's actually why our classrooms are set up in learning centers, so that kids, one, have an opportunity to get up and move, because that's important for little folk, and two, that at the learning center, there's something where they can work at their level. So if they need to work on a skill, and it's just something rote to just get the skill in, then they can do that, all the way up to applying the skill. So within a learning center, you want to see those levels, so that the child, based on their readiness, based on their interests, and based on their learning style, there's something at the center that's going to be appealing to them, and they're going to get they're going to have access to the curriculum.
And I was going to say that this year my daughter actually did a lot of differentiated instruction with her math. She was very low in math, so we had a meeting to kind of help her along the process of learning her math. So she got her own. Not her own homework menu, but Ms. Moderno did give her a packet to add to the homework menu, just to kind of help build her skills. Ms. Gambino gave her an activity that we were able to download on the computer to kind of help her along. She loves music, so it included music for it. And then in the learning centers, we would get emails that she was being pulled aside for one-on-one learning, because that's how she learned, and if she couldn't get it, she had a thing with breaking down or not, she was shut down. So she got her own, it was really tailored to her and how she learned in that aspect. So by the end of the year, she got a lot better with her, with multiplication and where she was going with that. So the differentiated instruction really helped her on that, in that aspect.
One small point, PBS.
PBIS. No. The people. PPSF.
PPSF. Okay. So, guys, you're gonna have a lot of opportunities to do the differentiation instruction, and it's important that you really embark on that. It's a voyage, and the process you're gonna find yourself growing and learning. Here at Capital, I've worn several hats, and when I wore the hat of a PBSF, I was constantly finding different ways to take what Ms. Reddick or what Ms. Gambino was doing in the classroom, and I would bring it to the learning lounge. And we would do the same thing, but at a different pace and in a different lane, so that the kids could grasp it and not feel like they're in a world of their own. So I think it's really important that PBSF understand how to differentiate what is happening in the classroom, maybe probably in a different spot, if the teacher asks you to do so.
Thank you. Yes.
Another good example would be like, for instance, in the pre-K centers, you have more challenging things for children who are a little more advanced, things that are at level for children and let them be able to, go and get what they need to challenge their minds and keep their interests going. Not just sit the things out for them to do, just let them have a choice of what they want to do.
Could there possibly be differentiation for behavior? So like everyone is held to the same standards school-wide, but for example, from the previous slides, if you have those students that have a behavior plan, do you make certain accommodations in your classroom for that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And along with the same,
We've done that. Well, I can think of a class that I don't know if it's official or not, but I just can think of in Ms. Reddick and Ms. Gambino's class, there's a student who just does not want to sit on the rug with the other students, and he acts out when he sits on the rug with the other students, and they always let him sit in he sits in the chair. That's just a pretty easy way to differentiate for him so that he can control
I actually have an example just in the school I'm in now of individualized behavior plans where I had the same things. In kindergarten, they couldn't really learn in the group setting on purpose, so they were in their chair. And based on their behavior for the week, I kind of tied in the whole school tickets, and they could earn so many by the end of the week based on these specific objectives, like listening and following directions, or, you know. So that is individualized, and yet in the end of the all scheme, it's really tying it into the roles and tying it into, you know, the whole PBIS.
And tying it into academics, because you can't get to the academics if you have behavior issues. So you always have to deal with the behavior issues first so that a child can get to the academics. Oh, yes.
I have a question, but it kind of goes back a couple slides with regards to the reward system for children who have behavioral issues. I was wondering, do the rewards, do they tend to be, are they imminent rewards? Say a child does really well, and so they're eligible for a reward. Are they always imminent, or are some more kind of like long range?
That would be individualized depending on the kid. Some kids can't wait a whole day or a whole week before they get their reward. They need, you know, and you want to make sure it's something that's motivating for the kid.
That brings up a point, this one individual, I mean, with kindergarten, they grow so much. From the beginning of the school year, he was getting more imminent, 2 minutes of free time just to chill, you know, and get himself together before we went off after snack. But by the end of the year now, he knows that he's just going to earn 2 checks at the end of the day. I mean, he could have never done that at the beginning of the year. So that's something that they work on and grow to.
I mean, even the guy that Antoine was talking about that we know. And so in the beginning of the snack schedule, like clockwork. If he was supposed to get snack at 8:58 and 22 seconds, he was there at 8:58 and 20. And now there's more and more time. And we haven't changed the schedule. We haven't gone back to say, okay, well now it's only going to be once in the morning and once in the afternoon. We haven't said that to him at all. But now it's once in the morning and once in the afternoon. So as they develop, as they grow, and they do start to internalize the expected behaviors, assuming that there are no other issues going on. They do start to internalize them. I apologize. I'm always a mother. So I apologize. So my son's texting me. So they do on their own. You'll see that the time that they can hold on and not have to be rewarded so frequently, it goes on and on. So that is flexible. It grows. Yeah.
And that's a key for differentiation for any, you know, not just behavior, but academics. I think flexibility, when you're doing it within the classroom, I think it has to be flexible, you know.
Yes.
I think that a couple people have alluded to this already, but I think a huge important part of differentiation is not just making sure that this appropriate supports are there, but that appropriate levels of challenge are there. And so, you know, that I think has been something that we've all talked a lot about this year with having a huge population of gifted students, whether they are identified or not. I think traditionally students that are advanced or that learn quicker or have been identified as gifted, the differentiation only really happens in the content. So it's a lot of like acceleration. Even our CTY math program that we use is just pure acceleration. They're just doing more and more advanced topics. But what all kids need access to is, you know, higher level thinking. I know Ms. Ferguson kind of already spoke about that, but especially knowing that we are catering to a population, I shouldn't say catering, but that we have a significant population of gifted students. It's really important that we always are thinking about how can I add in a deeper option for this assignment or this assessment or this activity. And I think that's tough as an educator. I don't think that's really where our training was. You know, when I think about my teacher prep program and other teacher prep programs, the focus is often on how do we support this, how do we scaffold this, how do we break this down. And there's not as much training on how do we make this deeper, how do we make this more rigorous, how do we, you know, go more consider.
Yeah, Dana has the answer. She's gonna function. Which is why this year we need a gifted teacher. Because that is a challenge. It has been a challenge across the board for our teachers and for the administrators. It has been a challenge. And so this year we're looking to do, because the thing is, it has to happen at tier 1. That part has to be a part of the regular education classroom. The goal is not to take these identified gifted kids out of the classroom and let them run a parallel service. That's not the goal. Those, what Ms. Ethier is talking about, should be in the regular classroom. So at a learning center, how do we challenge, what do we put at the learning center so that those kids, identified or not, because some kids that haven't been identified, there'll be something at that center that they'll want to try and they'll want to push themselves, and that's what we want to happen. So
It can't be more.
it can't be more. Like, oh, they only have 30 problems, but you have 45. That's not the answer. That's not the answer at all.
And I have an example of that at a very simple level. There's a kindergarten student who I service who's academically very low. But Ms. Capoletti always provides differentiated writing activities. And after he was here for about, 3 weeks a month, he decided he wanted to do the more challenging writing activities. And so he started doing them, and he was doing them, it's hard to read what he wrote, but he still was trying them. And I think as a result of that, his own progress in writing and decoding and encoding, I guess, was greater than would have been expected if he had just done, the more, the writing activities that were less complex.
You know, give him an opportunity to think about his learning, right? And think about his thinking.
And he still struggles. He's still one of the lower performing students, but I think he came further because he decided to take on that challenge.
Now, I don't know, excuse me, this is a side thought. Do we want to do this now? Or it's 5:30, and this is part of what they're gonna do with the next lesson. So we could break right here and let Camilla and Emily talk about the Learning Center, since we've been mentioning it so often.
Okay.
And we can just start here.
Okay, and should, in the handout I gave you, if you want to review that, what we're going to do next time, what is it, the 22nd of June?
26.
We're going to ask you to bring a lesson plan that you want to develop, differentiated, all those 4 areas of differentiation. And I thought about maybe it would be a good idea if maybe teams, like say the 4th and 5th, both the humanities teachers, the team, the content teams, if they came up with one together, and then that way maybe they could, use 2 brains instead of 1 to come up with. So come up with a topic that you want to develop a lesson plan or a unit around, and activities. And if people could bring laptops if they have them, that would be good for that. And also in the handout, I've got links to good websites.
Is this
for
week
SRBI.
week 1.1 lesson plan?
Yes.
Whatever's useful
make more
for you.
sense?
We want you to
Yes.
create something that's going to be
That's like
useful for
killing 2
you.
birds with 1 stone.
It is, yes.
Rather than just something random that we're gonna end up teaching like.
No, I want it to be
November.
something that's going to be meaningful. So that's why I think it's good if you
Okay.
have a team. That way you can develop product, real stuff, neat,
Lots of
It's more useful when it's not abstract.
Where do I stand in that, in terms of, should I,
I'm gonna put you on a team.
alright, sounds good.
And the other thing we're going to talk about at that meeting, can I just quickly go over, is the individual learning plans too. So we're going to try to start this year with, we're having an initiative of individual learning plans for all students.
On paper.
On paper.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start out with the struggling students or the,
Yeah, we'll start out the end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
as opposed to those
Anyway.
kids right in the middle. So these next couple of slides just take you through those 4 areas. So we'll pick up there next time, and give Camilla and Emily the floor so you can talk about learning centers. Again,